Hey, what's up, Black Knight Nation? We're back on a Sunday night. This is the Black Knight Nation podcast. We're sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a company owned by Joe Ross. And Joe Ross is a former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, and a former Army officer. Thanks, Higher Echelon, for sponsoring us. This is what we want to do. We want to get Steve Anderson and Kel Walker here together tonight to talk about the transfer portal. And there's big news this week with two Army's main offensive players hitting the transfer portal this week. They're both sophomores, in Isaiah Alston and Tyrell Robinson. And we want to get Steve and Kel's take on it, and maybe even my take on what's going on with Army in the transfer portal. Guys, I think it's something that, people say it's a little different at West Point, right? Because guys can go out, but they can't really come in through the transfer portal unless they want to start all over at West Point and start their college career all over and do the 4 years of academic and military training at West Point. So, Kel, what first off, what was your reaction to this week's news of Isaiah and Tyrell leaving?
To be honest, first and foremost, I just want to say, hey to everybody watching. And if you're not watching, you're missing out. I promise you. Sal will let you know. To be honest, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I'm actually, it hurts. It hurts as an Army fan and as an Army alum. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of excited for these kids. I'm kind of excited for these players. When I saw these transfer portals and these posts on social media, I was excited for them because this is the first time that I've seen in Academy history that players have the power to make moves for themselves and do things that they feel will better their family, themselves, and their football career. But it did hurt because I know these guys they're our most explosive offensive players. It's going to hurt, and ultimately it leaves our triple option offense with less options, Yeah. So
what do you think, Steve? Steve, what you felt? What were your feelings when you heard the news this week?
I mean, I was kind of, felt, obviously I was a little let down. I think Kel hit it where service academies are a little different, right? It's a little more take to the brotherhood a little more deeper. It's not just playing for Alabama where you go pro after your sophomore year after being redshirted or something like that. I'll tell a quick story about me. So this transfer portal is pretty new terminology, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah.
We used to always call it open up recruiting. So when I got in trouble at prep school, I wanted to leave, right? I got room restriction, couldn't leave my room unless I was in the gym or I was in class. Or I was doing fatigue tours, picking up dandelions with my hands instead of using a lawnmower, right? So, that was my life at prep school. And I was like, dude, screw this. Like, I'm a ball player. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to deal with any of this. And without telling anybody, I opened up my recruiting with my dad and with my high school football coach. And one of the most profound meetings I ever had at the academy was with Ben Kawika. He was my defensive coordinator. He sat me down. And one of the things Coach K always says is, what are you prepared to do? Right? That was one of his sayings. What are you prepared to do? That and just, I don't care where you go somewhere fast. Those are the two things he always said. Me and him had this is one of my growing moments as a cadet, as a young man into a grown man, conversations with Ben Kawika and the Army Brotherhood and what it meant to him and what we can do with the prep school class for a program that is in dire need of athletes to stay and camaraderie and esprit de corps and all that stuff. So that's just a long-winded answer to it. Obviously hurts a little more when these players leave the academy versus another school. At the same time, echo what Kel said, I couldn't be happier for these two. These three, the kicker, our sophomore kicker left as well. But this is I just look at it as I look at it as they're just graduating seniors at this point, right? Guys leave all the time. Great ball players leave all the time. Christian Anderson's not coming back next year.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. Not coming back. So if you look at it like that, where, okay, yeah, we could have had them for 2 more years, but we don't. They're graduated seniors. There's 2 players. There's a running back and a receiver that is excited for spring ball right now. Probably more than 1 or 2 that are extremely excited for spring ball. And with that, we are excited about spring ball because who's going to come out, right? Who's going to be the player that takes, that leap and hits the gym even harder right now, hits the off season hard to get ready for spring ball to be the starting running back or the starting wide receiver. So I am a part of a lot of forums for Army football. I'm a part of a lot of circles, and it is crazy to me to think anybody would take these young men's decision personally and basically write them off as bad people or guys that don't know what commitment are. Look, I know they're grown men, okay? They're 20 years old, right? They can enlist in the Army, they can serve, right? They're grown men. Well, look, I'm 33 years old now. They're just young kids making the best decision for themselves and their families. And I applaud them for having the intestinal fortitude to make that. It's not an easy decision.
It's not.
Okay? That's
really
not. Kel, I mean, I thought about leaving West Point my prep school year, my freshman year, my sophomore year. Even when I was named captain my second semester sophomore year, I still was like, man, is it too late? Is this it? Like, am I committed now?
Right.
But like, even if I wanted to leave, right? Even if I really wanted to leave, if I looked across and looked at Marcus Hilton, Josh McNary, Donovan Travis, if I looked at Richard King, if I looked at all my buddies, Zach Pearson, Pat Mealy, Kingsley Ahee, if I looked at all my buddies that we went to prep school with and we decided at prep school we were going to change this program around, and I was like, hey, like I was the one that brought everybody in.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, look, screw this. We're done losing. Let's win. And then if I'm the guy to leave, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Steve.
Yeah, no doubt. If you're watching right now and you have any comments or questions for us about the transfer portal, please send them through. I did some research just now. You asked Google. The transfer portal was created in October of 2018, officially the name transfer portal. So, Kel, did in your time at West Point, were there any thoughts of you maybe entering your name out there or putting your name out there to transfer or now?
Sal, hell yes. Hell yeah. Like, yes. Like, just like Steve, like, I went to prep school. We had a fantastic class come in. I graduated high school 2015. We had a lot of guys, a lot of athletes from different parts of the country. When we went through CCBT, that's what they call it, Cadet Candidate Basic Training, me and one of the guys, another slot back, his name BJ Harris, he eventually went to Southern University, HBCU, but we looked at each other and we was like, bro, what the hell did we get ourselves into? Because it was a culture shock. It was a shock to us. We never experienced military training. And that day forward, from the end of that training to maybe the second semester, I completely dropped the ball, everything. I was lazy. I was like, I don't want to be here. I'm entering my name somewhere else. I played through that season, but I was like, I feel like I'm good enough to go play elsewhere. That happened to me every single year. Like, I felt like, especially during the gray periods at West Point, I was like, bro, I want to leave. I don't feel comfortable here anymore. I don't feel like this is an opportunity for me. But that's what West Point is. It's an opportunity. And I think a lot of fans, especially those who are like criticizing these young players for leaving, it's an opportunity, and opportunities are missed and opportunities are, taken advantage of. And, who are we to say that these guys are going to miss this opportunity or drop the ball if they decide to leave?
Well, hey, Kel, just to dovetail, right?
Yeah.
It was never right. It was, and this is what ultimately made me stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was never that it was too hard.
Right.
It was never that, not necessarily I didn't like it there, but it wasn't because of what West Point was going to provide me, like,
right.
that I was unsure of. Like, it was never, I don't want to be an infantry officer or I don't ever want to serve. For me, it was never that.
Mhm.
I was never unsure if I was going to serve or not. When I wanted to leave because I saw my boys at West Virginia, at the University of Maryland, at Virginia Tech, at Richmond, all my buddies who are playing Division I, 1AA ball, just doing whatever the hell they want, doing 2 classes a semester,
Right.
All that kind of stuff is what made me want to leave. But, sitting down with my dad and some of my mentors, right, like what we do at the academy is so uncomparable to what college athletes do, especially during season,
Right.
compared to all the other Division I, service academies are pretty similar, but you got to have some pride in that. And
Right.
if it's not the future that's going to keep you from staying there, if it's really like the situation, like, if maybe those two really didn't want to serve in the Army. Maybe they're like, you know what, this is not like, I don't want to serve in the Army. I don't want to be an officer in the Army. Like I cannot applaud them enough because we don't want people that don't want to be officers in the Army, period.
Right. Yeah.
So if that was the reason, but if it was like, Austin, like, hey man, like I'm a wide receiver and not really feeling this offense, like,
Right.
Totally understandable. Now, Robinson, you're going to get the touches. So, I would think it was something along, and I'm just speculating here, right? I would think it was either something around the service, or because now there's, you can go pro from West Point now. So,
Yeah. I definitely agree with the Isaiah Austin situation. He's a great wide receiver. We haven't, we had great wide receivers throughout the time that I was playing there in the passes, but we haven't thrown as much. And Isaiah Austin's one of those guys who goes up and get the ball. So if you want to play in another offense, I definitely dig that from him, his perspective. As far as Tyrell, I really don't know much of, why he entered the transfer portal. Maybe because he felt like he deserves better as far as running the ball and being an athlete and being to play any position he wants to. I'm really not sure, but there's a lot of history in our offense, and we've seen throughout the years. It happened to me when I was a slot back. As you grow older into your career, you become a Cal, you become a first C. Sometimes your touches start to dwindle down a little bit, and that was one of my reasons why I was like, okay, I think I want to leave because I'm not getting as much touches. Now that might have been selfish reasons for myself, but
but I mean, look, Kel, I don't care if those guys made selfish decisions or not. Like I have no. It doesn't, like, again, I just look at it as they're graduating seniors, man.
Right.
We would have loved to have them another couple of years.
Yeah.
But you just look at it like that. Now, Sal, you've been following the team a lot closer than me and Kel have for a much longer period of time. Mm-hmm. And I know we just looked it up. Transfer portal is only 3 years, 4 years old, however you want, whenever it started in 2018. But do you remember any standout player from freshman or sophomore year that actually left the academy after establishing himself as like a go-to player?
Yeah, I think that this might be like one of the first couple guys that were actually like starters that left. Kel, Daewon Lee, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure if that was transfer portal stuff, but he went to Delaware and became a really good player at Delaware, right?
Yeah. Captain and standout running back at Delaware.
Yeah, and he was a transfer. I mean, he left. I mean, you guys had a deep slot back room, right? I don't know what his decision.
I think it's more so. I know a lot of players that went out of prep school, and really freshman year before they really, what was his name? Wormsley was there when I was there. I mean, he played in the league for a little bit. He ended up going to Tulane, and dominating, and ended up playing in the league a little bit. But there was never a time, that I can remember in my, I've been with the program since 2006, and I'm a pretty diehard fan.
Yeah.
That I can't remember a freshman or sophomore that really, like, everybody knew their name in Army football. that you could count on them to be out there on Saturdays. That started multiple years or made impacts so big their freshman or sophomore year where they end up choosing to leave. This may be the first I've actually seen where, like, I feel pretty strong that everybody knows who those two, at least those two. I'm sure most people remember the kicker who, I don't remember. What's his name, Sal?
Quinn Moretsky.
Yeah, Quinn.
Yeah,
He had a year before. I think
Yeah,
he played. He was more last year than he was this year.
Yeah. He kicked against our Navy and Air Force and had some field goals in those games that helped him win. This year, Cole Talley won the job, and he was behind Cole Talley. You guys remember, Kel, do you know anybody in your 4 years that left that freshman or sophomore year that was a starter that went on and played? Like, I can't think of anybody. I used to keep track of this stuff. I used to have a list.
Now, we had a bunch. Now, Sal, we had a bunch at prep school.
We had a bunch at prep school as well.
We had
a
three guys at prep school that ended up playing professional ball, CFL, NFL. We had one guy who transferred to University of Florida. Was a big man, Big Herb. Big Herb is what we called him. He was our offensive lineman. He ended up playing D-line at University of Florida, I believe.
Wow.
Mike Tashman was a really good linebacker. Played middle linebacker for us at prep school. Ended up going to UAB. Started at UAB as a true freshman, and did really well. Max Bowe and Drew Ezel, two incredible, because we still played pro style, Sal.
Yeah.
We were pro style.
Oh, yeah, that was back in the day.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm aging myself now, Kel. Right? Kel, we had Pat Mealy. Pat, right?
Yeah, I know Pat.
He got hurt our prep school year, and I ended up going both ways the last two games of the season at tailback and middle linebacker. And I'll tell you, Kel, I never knew I made the right decision to play linebacker over running back in college than those two games at prep school. I had never been so sore and hit so hard running the ball. I was like, man, I'm glad this is over. I'm glad Pat's going to get better here soon because I'm not doing it. They tried it for a little bit at West Point too. They spring ball. I played fullback and linebacker for like 3 series, and I was done. I was so exhausted. I was like, Coach, I can't. Like, you gotta either tell me to play fullback or let me go play linebacker because I cannot play. I can't. I mean, could you imagine playing fullback in a triple option and middle linebacker in a full college football game?
Connor Slomka can tell you about that. They tried him at middle linebacker or outside linebacker at prep school and switched him back over to offense.
Now, prep school is different. I'm talking about an actual college football game.
I can't do it.
No,
I can't.
Not in Army's offense. No,
absolutely not.
When you're on the field for 8 or 9 straight minutes, right, and then you're going to just jump on the defensive side, nah.
Well, not me. I can't do it. I'm sure there's some freaks out there that can, but not this guy.
Let's get to a comment. Demetrius Perry, I think, is a guy who played for Army in the 90s at fullback. There have been a number of my teammates who contributed a lot who left and were asked to leave. In fact, I got a chance to switch positions after a big loss we were counting on for 2 more years. So I mean, this is nothing new. It's just, I guess it's just redefined as the transfer portal. And even last year, I remember after the bowl game, right, Kel, played West Virginia in the Liberty Bowl. Jordan Funk, defensive lineman, started in the Liberty Bowl, and a couple weeks later, he decided to transfer. He transferred to James Madison University, and I went on the site. Their site today. I guess he redshirted this year. I guess because I didn't see him in any games this year.
Yeah, Sal, Jordan went to my high school. I actually had a lot of conversations with Jordan on when he first came to the academy and chose prep school and stuff like that. And I am the only guy from Damascus that's actually stuck it through. So there's been 3 really good players. One left after prep. Jordan left after his freshman year, I believe. I mean, but great. I mean, Jordan's brother's in the league. He plays for the Rams. He's a running back for the Rams. Real athletic family.
Yeah.
But it's 2022, right? Like,
the
guys in the 90s that left, like nobody's tweeting that I'm leaving the academy.
It's
right?
a good
I saw
point.
I was going to talk about that.
Cal, I
Steve.
saw a funny thing about the Bengals today. No one's ever been able to text about a Bengals win because the last Bengals win in the playoffs was 1991, and the first text message was sent in 1992. Right? So
You're right.
nobody's ever sent a text message about the Bengals winning in the playoffs. I'm an
Right.
AFC North fan, right? The Ravens blew it today, so I'm a little Miami won anyway. Patriots didn't help out. So, but anyway, I'll tell you who was a really good football player that left the academy was Ekiel King. Earl
Ekiel
King's
King.
brother.
Ekiel King, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the probably one of the most athletic players ever play at West Point.
Yeah. 90s. In the 90s, yep.
Yeah.
We had him on the podcast, believe it or not, like a
Yeah.
couple months ago. And he went to Oregon State. Oregon or Oregon State. I want to say Oregon State. And
Beeves.
and then he
Beeves.
actually got a free agent look from the 49ers from there. Yeah, you know, if you guys don't mind, I mean, this is a topic that really had a lot of we got a lot of interaction on the Black Knight Nation website. We got a lot of interaction on my Twitter accounts. And you know, I just want, if you don't mind, let me read a couple comments that I had. I think that sometimes, you know, first off, maybe let's get to this. People are saying that these guys are leaving for the NILs, right? The name, image, and likeness. And, you know, I don't know if that's the reason why they're leaving. At West Point, you're not allowed to, they don't allow, I guess you're not permitted to take any money for name, image, and likeness through sponsors or whatever it's like, donors, whatever it is. But I don't think that's why Isaiah Austin, Tyrell Robinson are leaving West Point. I think they're leaving for a bigger opportunity to play maybe a Power 5 conference.
I mean, Cal, like, who cares? What if they are?
Yeah.
What if they are leaving for the NILs?
Yeah.
It doesn't make it. Look, at the end of the day, these guys are making decisions that's best for themselves.
Yeah.
And their families, and they're making a decision based off the information they have right now, and they're just doing the best they can. Like, we're all going through life.
Right.
So I still make bad decisions to this day. Right? Like, I still, you know, I make great decisions. But we're all just trying to get through life, trying to make the right decisions with the knowledge we have at this time for what's best for my family, myself, and my friends. Like, I mean, I can't imagine anybody in their position that was offered an NIL, you know what I mean? And they're like, you got to leave West Point. You got to come to, you know, Virginia Wesleyan, right? And we'll give you $150,000, right? I mean, who's not taking that unless they have a really, really strong conviction about service, about opportunity on the far end, right? The network of West Point. Like, those are the things I hope somebody coached them through, because I'll tell you this, Sal, the West Point network is no joke. Okay. It's no joke. If you're part of the right forums and the right threads and the right groups and you're looking for a job, you can find one.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot.
No, I agree, Steve.
What you saying, Kel?
I said, I agree with you. Like, if these guys are leaving for NILs, who wouldn't want them to actually make that decision to make that money? You know what I mean? Like, for a long time, before I even came to West Point, I was told that, you know, West Point is the best opportunity for me as far as longevity, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now. And ultimately, you know, when I was younger, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, I wanted to make money. And I felt like West Point gave me the opportunity to set myself apart from all of my peers, high school peers or middle school peers, people I grew up with. In the long run, if these kids want to go and make money, let them do that, because I guarantee you, a lot of people are not coming to West Point. And maybe I'm speaking for myself, for my class, but a lot of kids don't come to West Point to be in the Army. Like, that's a reality. A lot of these kids come to West Point because of the name. Now I
had this conversation the other day with this other West Point grad on this group chat where you know, we somebody brought up the transfer portal, you know, and these guys left or whatever, and then he was like, well, good. The only reason you should go to a service academy is to serve. And I'm like, yeah, one, you got out after 5 years. So thank you for your service. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, roger that. And 2, that's not even true.
Right.
You have people that go for sports, period. Okay. Me included. I went for sports,
Me
period.
Too.
And
Me
I
too.
learned everything else about Kel. I didn't even know I was going to get smoked. I didn't know there was any CCBT. Okay.
Me either.
I got
Trust
started
me.
getting yelled at my first day. I was like, "What? You know who you're talking to? All
Yeah.
State linebacker. All right, calm down now. Don't be talking to me like that." Like I had to legit get inculcated into what was going on, and I had to talk to people about it. So, I think it's crazy to believe that we, as outsiders, as fans, have any idea what's going on in their lives. To even make a judgment, right? Only God will judge me. Make a judgment about these young kids going for the NILs or going for more balls thrown my way or more touches in a pro style offense or what?
Right.
Like, come on, man. That's just it's so fanatic, right? It's what fans do, right? We're just fanatics.
There's some crazy comments out here. Here's a not so crazy comment, just saying that I think Alston has real NFL talent. I think Terrell Robinson is an amazing athlete, but not seeing his fit in the NFL given his size. I was trying to talk to a couple guys that know the NFL pretty well, or even Power 5 conferences, right, guys, and see like what is Isaiah Alston at a Power 5 level? What is Tyrell Robinson at a Power 5 level? Are they contributors? What do you think, Kel?
Yeah, absolutely. They're contributors in every facet of the game. One, I can understand Joe's sentiment about Tyrell Robinson's size, but size doesn't matter in this day and age of football. This is not football back in the 90s or where these guys were 6-something playing running back. Like, speed kills in every facet of the game. Like, we recruit at West Point, we recruit smaller guys because we're faster, and it's amazing that we can sustain blocks and continue to blocks, but we get lower and we're faster off the ball. So I think Tyrell Robinson can go to any school, Power 5. I think he can go to SEC and actually contribute because size does not matter. You get Tavon Austin, for example, who graduated from West Virginia almost 8 years ago. I was watching him before games. He was only 5'8", 170-something pounds, and he was running all over Oklahoma, LSU, any SEC team. So size really doesn't matter. I think
all of us remember a guy named Darren Sproles, right?
Darren Sproles.
My brother played against Darren Sproles. Covered him one-on-one. He'll tell you Darren Sproles ran an angle route, and if there was no touchdown, he would still be running to this day. Okay, so speed actually kills Kelly. But like, my argument is that, if you want to showcase your talent, that's fine. But you can talk to there's a perfect person at the academy that knows what the NFL is about. Right.
Yeah.
And his name's Ben Kawika. And I hope those two sat down with him because Coach Kawika has the best perspective, right? Because when you talk to military officers, right, all they know is serving in the Army. So all they'll pitch to you is stay in the Army because they've done it and it's easy and whatever, right? Ben Kawika was a successful pilot. He was a successful combat veteran. And he's a successful coach in the NFL. So he can give you that perspective. And, at the end of the day, you know what the NFL pays really good money to find? Talent at JUCOs, at Division III, at 1AA. It doesn't matter. If you can play and you get yourself to a tryout or you get yourself on TV, the NFL don't care if you've got 6 catches for 100 yards or 6 catches for 600 yards. If you can play and you meet their measurables, right? You got to meet their measurables, which is speed and size. They're going to take a chance on you. And both of those guys have, both those guys have the ability to continue to play if right, like they don't just have the ability. There's a lot of work that still needs to get done to make that leap from what they did this year to, playing on Sundays on a regular basis.
Yeah. Right. No, I agree. Would you
Joe
say
Viz says
so?
he doesn't think there's any team that will showcase Robinson's talents as well as they were featured in the Army offense.
There's plenty
Army
of teams that
offense.
run the rock.
It's not like Tyrell was touching the ball 10, 15 times a game. He wasn't.
Exactly. He was sharing it with 3 other people.
Yeah, I mean, so
That's
yeah,
the
he was
nature of
given
triple
opportunity.
option
Now,
offense.
Army's offense allows him to, catch an 80-yard bomb with nobody around him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of opportunities will be rare for a running back to be wide open, but which will showcase his speed because you obviously run faster when nobody's around you, and you're just on a breakaway. But I mean, Wisconsin, if he's a starting running back at Wisconsin, he's going to get 25, 30 touches a game.
Yeah.
And I think what Joe Viz is talking about is that the variety or the dynamic of the counter inside zone, the pitch on the outside, the catching the ball out of the backfield. Now, they're not a lot of touches, but as we saw, when Robinson touched the ball, he made the most of it, right?
Right.
And I think that's what Joe Viz is trying to talk about here is, he may go somewhere and carry the ball 30 times a game and go 30 for 125 with a tug or 2 tugs, right, which are great stats.
Right.
But, he's catching a couple balls. He's going outside. He's going inside. He's lead blocking. He's cut blocking. He's showing a lot of versatility, I guess the word would be. I think that's what Joe Viz was getting at. But
let's go real quick to Demetrius Perry. I feel like I took the safe route and retired from the Army. The one thing I always wondered about is if I wouldn't take a shot at the league. I think back then it was different, right? I mean, in the 90s it was now it's easier for guys from Army to go directly to the NFL. As we've seen, there's 5 Army grads in the NFL right now. So and we're going to have a couple more probably with the recent team. I want to get to this comment that was on my Twitter this week by Christian Gmar. Sorry, Christian, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong incorrectly. I think there is the greatest existential threat to the viability of competitive academy football since the NFL started becoming the number 1 spectator sport in America. He's talking about the transfer portal. We have to figure out how to address the NIL and the transfer portal ASAP, or we will not be non-competitive in 4 years. I don't know
how I feel about that.
The only thing I'll say about that, as far as the non-competitiveness, Army pretty much has, as an independent, has the ability to set up its schedule. So it's not like it's playing a Power 5 conference schedule every year, right? And I think that it sets itself up, even though these schedules are done 10 years in advance, right? But it's not like they're playing 3 back-to-back Power 5 schools.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of Army fans actually give credit to these players who they don't see on the field sometimes. Like I always tell people, when you had Kelvin Hopkins on here, we were talking about these players who were wearing the gold jerseys during practice. They were our scout players. These guys can play. Andre Carter was a scout player his freshman year and didn't get a chance until he was maybe a junior, I believe. Like, these guys can play. Army football, academy football is about, all right, one man goes down, who's going to step up? Because it's the brotherhood. It's deeper than just football. So we're going to make it happen. So I think the academy, West Point will always be a team that can compete with other schools. That's the nature of our offense. It's the nature of a testament to our players, how dedicated they are to each other, how dedicated some of these coaches are to these players, and working with the right game plan. So I don't know how I feel about that comment. Of course, we're not scheduling Power 5 teams, because we're not used to taking hits from Power 5 teams. But we schedule a team like Oklahoma, who surprisingly did not hit that hard at all. I'm telling you, Eastern Michigan hit harder than Oklahoma defense. I promise you. But we stay in our lane right now. We continue to grow. Then we can revisit that comment, to be honest.
I think the benefit for Army too, right? And you guys know this. It's not like they're like these other FBS schools who only have like 20 to 25 guys in the recruiting class. You have 70 to 90 players that they bring in a year, whether they send them to Army prep or they bring them in directly. So they have a little bit. 10 guys have left. Actually, guys, just tonight, another quarterback has left Army. So another transfer portal, RJ Rosales, who was I believe he was a sophomore, and he was not in the scout team guy, right? So I mean, I'm looking for an opportunity, right? Sees the writing on the wall with Tyre coming back, Cade, Jamel, and Maurice Ballon still in the mix. He's looking for an opportunity to play. Nothing wrong with that. So I don't know. I think they bring in enough players where you lose your two best offensive players. It's time for two other guys that step up. Kel, I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know Ajon Marshall at all. I don't know if you got.
That's one of my guys.
Ajon Marshall is a guy with Tyrell Robinson leaving. Ajon Marshall is a guy that can step. From what I'm told, Darnell Wolfell coached him at the prep school. He told me that Marshall was just as good as Robinson at the prep. So if Marshall gets his opportunity, he was getting a little bit more snaps at the end of the season, right? Mm-hmm. He's a guy. People are like, I see these threads on these chat boards, right? And they list the Army starting offense for 2022, and they have Brahim Murphy, and then they have question mark at the other slot back.
Right.
And I'm thinking, Ajon Marshall was coming on late in the season, right? And he's a guy I think that can step right in there. Now you got to build your depth behind there, but that's why they bring in these big freshman classes. That spring practice this year, right, Steve? That spring practice will be huge to find out who's going to take the next step to make the depth chart behind those guys. So,
look, we're gonna reload, man. We're gonna reload. Okay, there's a running back and a receiver that will fill the spots. Okay, so let's not act like these are the first two guys that we have to replace. We lose seniors every year.
Right.
We lose seniors every year, Sal. Okay. And I think people are hyping this up because we could have had them. Now, what are we gonna do? What who these guys would have been starting for the next 2 years. It's like, look, calm. What did Aaron Rodgers say? Relax. Okay.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers reference, yeah.
Yeah, all right, just relax. I caught the tail end of it, Sal. But I think that comment brings up a good point about I think we'll still be able to recruit heavy. Okay, I still think even though West Point doesn't have the NILs and the all the other stuff, I still think we'll be able to recruit heavy. Now, we rely. Sal, I didn't stay at West Point for. I'm going to be 100%. I didn't stay for the degree. I didn't stay for the service. I 100% stay at the academy because of the brotherhood. Okay.
Yep.
I 100% stayed playing and attending West Point Academy because I personally could not leave guys like Marcus Hill and Josh McNair, Donovan Travis, Richard King, all those guys I played with. Okay, that was me. That's me personally. Okay, I couldn't do that. And I think West Point will continue to rely on that brotherhood, keeping guys that have the ability to leave, right, that have, offers or, transfer portal, whatever we're going to call it, right? Now, competing with the NILs are going to be tough, okay? Because you're going to say, stay here, you're going to bring out this Excel sheet, right? Check out, the year 2040, right? You're going to be making this much money, versus only, 150,000 these guys are going to pay you this next year to go play at, I think Oklahoma's quarterback just got offered, I forget his name, but he got offered $1 million by Charlie Batch and his company to go play at Eastern Michigan next year. Who was the starting Oklahoma quarterback that got
Rattler or Caleb?
Yeah, Rattler.
Rattler got offered $1 million NIL to go play at Eastern Michigan next year by Charlie Batch and his company.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean that.
And he didn't go, right? He transferred.
I'm pretty sure
transferred off.
Was still open.
I just feel like I like Steve, you brought up a good point about you stay because of the brotherhood. grit and determination, looking at your guys' eyes on the other side of the football. When you grinding in mat drills, you busting your ass in mat drills, and you crying, sweating, bleeding these people. Like I think these guys still had that brotherhood, but this is a new generation. Like I was just talking to a captain the other day, and he was telling me about this new generation of soldiers that's coming into the army. It's harder to reach them than it is, people. I know I'm a later generation than you, Steve, but it's hard to reach people like me or people like Darnell Woolfolk in that generation, whatever, that class. But these guys, they grew up around instant gratification. And everything was instant, and I'm not saying this about Tyrell or Isaiah personally, but everything in that generation is so instant and at the fingertips. Of course, it's a lot easier for them to see other people transferring and getting offered money or getting the likeness, making money off their likeness. They're gonna want to follow suit as well. But when I was coming through the academy, we didn't have that. You know what I mean? I honestly felt like West Point was the best opportunity for me. And like you said, Steve, I couldn't leave my guys behind. I really couldn't. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
For me. I mean, there was a starting linebacker position at a bunch of colleges for me. You know what I mean? I could have left and gone done it and could have made a new, I think I would have been a great linebacker anywhere, but I think Alex Morrow brought up a good point.
We're gonna go read this. At other colleges, people transfer at West Point. Everyone calls it quitting. I'm sure there are a lot of cases of people staying because of that stigma when they would have been better off leaving.
Yeah, and I think he brings up a great point, right? Like, you automatically get labeled as a quitter, right, for leaving something that you join as a young, a boy, and by your sophomore year, you're 20, 21 years old. Especially if you go to prep school, like you should be pretty close to making grown men decisions at that point.
Right.
So, and he's 100% right. There are so many people that stay at the academy that go on to lead, young men and women that should never do it, but they just will not leave, even though they know they should leave, even though they know they shouldn't branch infantry or branch field artillery or branch whatever they want to branch because of the pressure of mentors, peers, whatever it is. I mean, I cannot emphasize them. I saw it happen at the academy where guys wanted to leave, but they just couldn't because of their father or their mentor or whatever. And they would have been so much better off leaving. So Alex brings up a good point. It's looked at as quitting. People imagine if we followed every single transfer other than just college football players every year.
Yeah. I had a Twitter comment, Dave DeRoches from this week saying cadets don't transfer, they resign. I mean, that's I don't know. What do you guys think about that one?
I mean, resign is just another word for quitting, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is what I was getting. This is the stuff that you get from. There's a lot of angry Army fans. Man.
I saw the same. I saw people attacking these young men about quitting, about not knowing what loyalty means. What do you know about commitment? Like, I'm talking about people attacking these young men. I'm like, bro, what? You never played college football, did you?
Yeah.
You don't even know what it's like to be on a team anymore, do you?
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine. I'm sure these guys had the right conversation with their boys too, man.
Right.
It was not, hey guys, I'm out.
Right.
Like, these guys sat on this for a while. So
yeah, I mean, the brotherhood doesn't stop there though. These guys wanted to leave. It does not stop in that locker room. I still talk to the guys that I played with that left. I'm still close with some of those players.
100%.
You know what I mean? It doesn't stop there.
Kel, I just talked to a young commit. He's going to be a kicker for West Point. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I told him, it doesn't matter if, he leaves after his freshman year, his sophomore year. I told him that from this conversation, you are part of my brotherhood. Okay. Even though he's not even on the Army football team now, I told him, you're part of my brotherhood. And I'll tell you this right now. I will do whatever I can to make you successful in whatever you decide.
Right.
Whether it's at West Point, whether that's at another school, it doesn't matter. You're part of my brotherhood now, and I will do what a big brother does for his brothers. Right?
Right.
I mean, that's Kel, if you came to me and you needed something, dude, I'd be there, man. It's just how it operates, man. And the Army's not too much different, but
right.
the brotherhood within the Army, I mean, it's strong and it's long and it's deep and it's real, man. And I'm just glad to be a part of it.
We're getting a lot of questions here, or comments and questions. So here's another question. If cadets don't get picked up, can they stay at the academy like the old days? Now, from what I understand, if you put your name in the transfer portal, you can't come back, because I believe last year Bo Nicholas Paul put his name in the transfer portal freshman year at West Point going into sophomore year, and he was on the field for West Point this year. So I mean, I guess there's some cases where maybe the interests or offers are not out there that you think are going to be out there. And I believe you can come back to West Point.
Look.
I think they're still in class.
It's not like you're just walking out the door at West Point. There's
right.
a whole out processing that needs to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
and a lot of people change their minds.
You have to turn in every single thing they give to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, I'm in the transfer portal, here's all my stuff. It's football, I'm entering the transfer portal, academy, I'm still attending classes. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as like black and white as that person makes it seem. You can absolutely stay there. I mean, transfer. I haven't been in college for the transfer portal, but if it's anything like I think it is, it's a long process to out process any unit in the Army.
It's a pain in the ass.
Definitely West Point.
I'm doing that right now. My processing from SEAL. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, where you? Not to get off topic, but where are you heading next?
427 FA at Fort Bliss.
Okay, Fort Bliss.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, be down there.
I got a bunch of buddies down there, so just let me know.
I got you, my brother.
We'll keep the conversation going here with Christian Jamar. He says that transfer portal and NIL are the great. This is what basically I read before, right? This is what the comment that he sent to me before. So now we have it right in front of us. And we talked about this early in the podcast that we, as far as for 4 years from now, Cal White, we weren't really in agreement. We think that the academy, the way the brotherhood, the way they recruit, the coaching, which I wanted to talk about quickly later if we have a second.
It's always the next man up, Sal. Like you guys seen Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie about Queen? All right, so you saw the scene where their lead singer quit after like some gig at some pub, and then Freddie Mercury came in after the show, came back, auditioned for Deke and all the rest of the guys. Like, it's the next man up. You never know what you're gonna get next, but you got to take a chance, opportunity with these guys who are willing to play.
Look, mental toughness, intestinal fortitude, coaching, recruiting, right? And then, I don't know, scheduling, right? I mean, that's what Army's going to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. And we're going to stay competitive. Now, like, we may lose guys when they play early, right? But it doesn't matter It doesn't matter if guys leave after they give us all they got for those years, okay? We're still winning games. I mean, we had a chance to win 10 games this year. If we didn't, we had that little fumble. We had that Wisconsin, the Ball State. We had that issue, and then we lost the Navy, which was, oh, man, that was rough, right? That was rough, too. But we still had – we could have won 10 games this season, Yeah. So – scheduling, recruiting, intestinal fortitude, mental toughness. We'll have the guys that'll go next man up. The NILs, yes, they'll create a problem, and we'll lose a couple guys. I'm sure the new thing will be one or two guys, probably mostly one, will think it's better on the other side. And it'll be the brotherhood, or it'll be something that keeps them here, or they leave. And it'll just be next man up, just like Kill said.
I think part of this is success, right? Having success, because you see that some guy, when you have success, look at Isaiah Alston had a big game against Wake Forest, and he was had a breakout season this year, and maybe he feels that he can do it at a higher level. And you look at the coaching staff. I was just going to mention this real quick. You have success. I believe there are going to be 5 new coaches on the Army coaching staff heading into 2022 season. 3 have already left. I think there could be 2 more positions opening up. So from what I hear, it's going to happen. You have this success, and coaches are going to move on, and some players might move on before. Because here's the thing, guys, right? And you can speak on this. You do it before your junior year, because you sit in the first class of your junior year, you owe West Point the 2 years of education that you have left plus the 5, right? So that's why these guys are both sophomores. They're being a little bit more proactive and doing it pretty much a couple weeks after the season, making up their minds and saying, "Hey, this is maybe not for me."
Yeah, they're gonna go play spring ball for some other team if they get picked up, right? That's the idea here. They want to transfer early, go get a chance to play spring ball, so where they can step in and play right away or get redshirted or whatever. But what also helps, right? Not just winning, right? Because winning solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, it
we've
does.
got guys in the league, man. We've got guys at various positions in the league. Okay,
and outperforming in the league. They're doing their thing in the league too.
And they're balling.
Yeah,
they're playing. And I don't know, and this would be a Google question, but how many non-Power 5 schools have 5 or 6 players in the league right now? Right? How many service academies have 5 or 6 players in the league right now? How many independents have, I don't know. Is Notre Dame still an independent, or do they go conference?
Yeah, they're considered independent. Yeah, they're considered.
Yeah.
BYU will be moving to a conference,
So it's just, we're winning at the academy. We got players in the league at the academy, right? I mean, the only thing we don't have, right, is what we've already talked about, is the NILs. Okay,
right.
And that'll be something that we have to, but it's not like you're, and I don't want to say struggling, but you get paid at the academy.
You do,
right? You get paid better than a Division I football player that's not receiving, stuff in their locker after games. You can have a life. You have a place to live. You get food, and you know what I mean. You have the necessities. You got clothes, for the most part, and then you get a couple $100 here and there every month. So,
yeah. Well, here's Christian Jamar. Another one. It's frustrating because we fought and clawed and worked our ass off to get to competitive against anyone. I feel like this is a huge threat. We could turn into a 2-year JUCO type of situation. I don't see that. I don't see Service Academy football turning into that.
No, if you really want to get technical, that's what prep school is for. We treat prep school as like a JUCO type of situation. When you go to prep school, you plan mostly JUCOs or these small like D3 schools. So, you have enough room to make a decision on what you want to do before you even enter the academy. But a lot of people don't know. They're just going and as day by day. They just go as years by year, and sometimes it doesn't click for a lot of people. I think we will continue to be competitive no matter what the situation is. Only way we won't be competitive is if we have 8 people on the field. And if we did have 8 people on the field, the way our triple option offense work, I promise you would still score a couple touchdowns. So we're not the only ones taking a hit, though. Navy, they're taking a hit too. Air Force, they're taking a hit. Air Force, they spread the ball around a lot more than our triple option. They run a different type of triple option. They like to throw it in the air a lot. But we're not the only ones taking hits. If we were regular, if we were an SEC school, Power 5 team school, and we had guys transferring, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah, Navy has actually they had Gilman on their team, right? He went to Notre Dame. He's in the league. They had last year Jake Springer transfer, I believe, to Ole Miss, and he's looking like he's going to get drafted. So this does happen, this does happen at the other service academies. Here's a name, Kel. I don't know if you know this name, but I remember him in recruiting. Felix Harper is the kid's name. He was a quarterback. He committed to Army maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He went to Alcorn State. Now he's listed as a potential draft pick. He never went to West Point. I think he decommitted before he got to Army prep, and now he is a quarterback prospect, and he's going, I believe, to the NFL Combine. So, Army is recruiting, will always go after those kind of players.
Right.
There'll always be talent out there. It's just a matter of getting them to West Point and everything kind of, I don't know, coming together for them at West Point, right? Them seeing the bigger picture, or them seeing the bigger picture that West Point is not for them. We got a couple more comments. Joe Viss. I thought Joe Viss was leaving us, but he stuck around. We appreciate it, Joe. Netflix needs to do a special like they did for Juco. Well, that's a good one, Joe. Uncle Sam's Community College. Munkin could totally start something like that.
Wow.
I'm surprised they haven't done when Army's was Kel, when you guys were rolling, right, and you had that 10-win season. I thought they'd follow up that 10-win season with a book or at least a documentary on the team. I thought that Showtime's done something like that before, or CBS Sports Network would do that. We'll have to talk to my Netflix sources and see if we can get that done. And Christian saying, I just meant where the best players habitually leave after 2 years. Okay, there's still some good players that are going to stay, right? I was thinking there's still some good players that are going to stay. So
it's how another thing is, a lot of people don't really talk about the coaches like that either. If anybody, they attack kids for leaving. A lot of fans attack kids for leaving, but they never really say anything about coaches leaving. I had some great coaches in college football. I had a lot of great coaches throughout my time in high school and college football ever since I played the sport of football. But in high school, I had 5 head coaches in 4 years. I was fortunate enough to have Coach Tucker Wall, as my slot back coach my whole entire career. But the wide receiver room didn't have the same coach our whole entire career.
Yeah.
Our DB's coach changed. It's shifted around. Our D coordinator left, and for a better opportunity for him and his family. A lot of people don't really talk about that side of football as well. And I think if you shouldn't be getting mad at anybody, because it's about the better opportunity for yourself. Steve already hit it on the head.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I know that Coach Gaither, he was Isaiah Austin's position coach this year at West Point, wide receivers coach. He left for Virginia. He's going to be coaching at Virginia. Could that be could that be a reason or part of the reason that Isaiah left? We don't know. Maybe he was close to coach. We don't know that, right? Same with Tyrell. We don't know. We don't know what's going on there either. So I mean, you're absolutely right, and I think the transfer portal needs to stay open for that reason, right? Because these coaches are playing kind of a little bit of coaching roulette and moving around a lot of different places, and you have to have the transfer portal in place, no doubt. Does it stink at service academies because you can't take players in and you're going to lose players going out? Yeah, but that's what you sign up for when you coach there, right? You know what's Munkin knows that's the deal, So and he's gonna that's probably makes him and the staff recruit even harder, I bet you.
Yeah.
Hey, we haven't talked about this yet, but hey, what players transfer to West Point? Did we get anybody to enter the transfer portal to come to West Point, or is that not going to happen?
Not yet. You know what? There was.
Gonna happen.
Ted Bentler did, right? You Steve, you're a part of that. But that's going way back.
Oh yeah, Ted Bentler was one of the most literally one of the most scariest people I've ever met in my life. So, yes, Ted Bentler did it. I was so upset that he didn't get his when they didn't approve his 5th year to play on my senior year to allow him to play, because they gave him that 1 year penalty for transferring D1 to D1 from Iowa. That was pretty upsetting, but I mean, God, Ted, that is a name I haven't heard in a long time, and yes, he is. He did do it to be with his brother Fritz. So I was just making a joke. I mean, we're always recruiting. I didn't think we got anybody from a different school to come to Point. I think we recruit guys from high school. So.
Yeah, Kel, you all know the story of Ted Bentler. He played at Iowa, I believe, his freshman year, and his brother Fritz was at West Point on the defensive line. He was a defensive lineman. He transferred into West Point so he could play with his brother and he got to play with his brother for 3 years, and then the NCAA wouldn't grant him the 5th year to play that extra year with Army. It was pretty. That guy was, man, he was different, Steve. He was just absolutely different. I will say back.
Kel, you know how you guys do football camp? You know how football camp during the Piad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, when Ted said, turn the lights off, it's time to go to sleep, everybody turned their shit off and went to sleep. That's
how it was with John Boyd, man. That was how it was with John Boyd. Playing with that caliber of athlete, that caliber of man. Yeah, when John Boyd said, turn the lights off, it's time to go to sleep, everybody was in their bed going to sleep. You didn't really want that smoke with nobody.
It's crazy. Steve, I was thinking of somebody else, but this was maybe a little different. Jared Hassan, right? Jared Hassan played at Air Force prep, and he ended up transferring to Army after he played at Air Force prep. And he was your senior year, he was one of the main running backs, right? I mean, he was the fullback in your senior year, right? I think
Jared Hassan was younger than me. And I think I can't remember correctly, but so he did it was the same. He got the same deal. So he was a direct. I believe there is no fact in this, but he had to sit out a year, our junior year. So he was a freshman at Academy. He ran our prep. I think he ran our scout team running back my junior year. And then my senior year, he was a sophomore, and he did really well. So my senior year, yes, he did very well at the back position. And then I think he did pretty good his junior year, and I don't think he played his senior year, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, he didn't play senior year.
Yeah, same kind of deal. I don't know why it's not like an automatic waive. If a guy's going to go serve his country as an officer in the Air Force, Army, Navy, like, just waive the whole D1 to D1 thing and let the guy play one more year while he's still in school, right? And then just let it go.
Yeah. Well, we got real quick from Christian. In other news this week involving maybe some Army news, Jay Bateman, who left Army for North Carolina. He's not coming back to be North Carolina's defensive coordinator. And there was talk about, of course, the message boards, right? The Army fans, they want to bring Jay Bateman back to West Point. Well, there's a guy named Nate Woody, right? You have a guy named Nate Woody who's a defensive coordinator who's done a pretty good job his 2 years there. And so there's just not a fit right now for Jay Bateman up here at West Point. From what I'm told, he will not be returning to West Point.
Spanks will be okay. He's going to land on his feet.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going to be all right.
Yeah, he can. I mean, the guy can coach defense, no doubt. I mean, going from Army to Power 5 conference, North Carolina struggled a little bit this year, but he'll land on his feet. And Joe Viss saying Bateman was a great fit at Army, like Woody better, but I take Bateman back at Army any day. I think that's like Steve. We talked about this a little bit, right, with Ben Kotwe on staff and Mike Vitti on the Army staff too. That you look at Air Force and mostly Air Force, they have a lot of former players on their staff, right? Guys or at least grads on their staff. And, Navy, I think, has a couple. Army has Vitti and Kotwica right now. I mean, I think there's guys who are out there right now who like to get, their feet wet, so to speak, coaching at Army, maybe if it's even at the offensive analyst level, and we'll see what happens. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the operational environment dictates a lot of that on how many personnel we can bring to West Point. I mean, we've been pretty busy in the Army the past 20 years. Having a heavy West Point football staff at West Point during the global war there probably wouldn't be the best thing in the world. Whereas unless you're unless you're an Air Force pilot or a JTAC, no offense to the Air Force, but you weren't probably, fully, didn't have as many troops, or they don't have as many troops in general, but you get my point.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that hurt recruiting as well. The global war on terror, if you were going in the Army, I mean, just the Army name makes you, you got to kind of sign on the dotted line to be able to do that a little more intensely than, the Navy or Air Force, just in overall generality. So, look.
It's a conversation for another podcast.
I can't think of a better job in the active duty Army than to be an OR, some kind of affiliation with the Army football team. I would, I'd move my family tomorrow if that was an opportunity for us to do. That would be a decision where I wouldn't even ask my wife for permission. I would just do it. And then if she wanted to come, she'd come with the boys. All right. But that would be an opportunity that, especially now with me knowing, Coach Kawika there, Mike Vitti, Coach Vitti. If you guys know Colonel Bianchi at all, but Colonel Bianchi was a huge mentor of mine. Colonel Rogers, who's in OR, he was a huge mentor of mine when I was at the academy. Like, just so many people that had such a positive influence on me to become an officer that are there right now. I just couldn't think of, I would do the janitorial duties at nighttime as long as I got to be around the team and talk football with them during the day. I swear, I would.
Yeah.
I think we'll get. I think back to that. I mean, we got a lot of ORs that are previous Army football players that are doing good at the academy right now. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the name Blake Powers, Sal, but Blake Powers was a quarterback at the University of Indiana. Great friend of mine. He is now an Army football fanatic where we text all the time. We talk not about anything specifically Army football, just how much he loves what Army football is. And he wasn't even an Army football player.
You're right.
Yeah. But he identifies as an Army football player from now on. And Blake's a great friend of mine. I love him. So he's an asset with the team there right now as well.
Yeah, he's
Steve,
a member of the – go ahead. Sorry, Cal.
I'm sorry, Sam. I was going to say I agree. You need that representation at the lowest level with these players because, I had great mentors, Colonel Reed, Colonel Ray, and all these great ORs, all these great guys that we had. A lot of the times, these players want to leave not because of on-field situations. Usually it's off-field situations, down in the Corps or just dealing with the military aspect. So having somebody there that can relate to you and like say, I did it. I had the same struggle. You're going to be okay. Power through. That's definitely important.
Classes aren't easy, Kel. Chemistry and physics is no joke.
I'm telling you.
All right.
Physics was all right.
No joke.
Chemistry was all right.
No joke. Econ, I think I took as a junior or senior, but those chemistry, you don't even have to choose your classes. You're going to take physics and you're going to take chemistry and you're going to survive.
No, stats killed me. Stats was almost a West Point ender for me. I'm not going to lie to you. I couldn't pass it to save my life. It took me 2 or 3 times to pass it, but.
Dude, I stapped every year. I stapped every year, man.
Every year.
I did psychology. I did IT 305. Thank goodness. Oh, my God. I know I'll never go into the IT business for sure.
We've had a pretty engaging conversation today about the transfer portal. We had a lot of comments from people that are watching. We appreciate those. Guys, is there anything you'd like to say before we kind of wrap this up on the whole situation? I mean, I'm sure maybe there'll be a player or two that enters the transfer portal before the spring starts. But yet there's still the recruiting for this year's senior class of high school still going for Army till the February and even beyond. So I'm sure they're looking to bring in players to that. They're always looking. I mean, you got Steve. You talked about the depth charts at West Point, right? I mean, and how deep they go and how guys can slide up and down like with a practice or with a play sometimes. So I'm sure there, Cal, too from your experiences. There's guys that are ready and chomping at the bit to go and compete, like we talked about for these running back and wide receiver positions, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But is there anything else you guys like to say about the transfer portal stuff before we wrap up?
I'll just say this to every Army fan out there that feel the need to criticize these players for leaving. You trust them enough to play for the black and gold. Trust them enough to make good decisions that's going to represent their family, represent the time that they had at West Point, and represent whichever God they serve. Just don't love somebody for what they can do for you, but love them for what they can't do for you. That's ultimate leadership in that aspect. So trust these players. I think these two guys, if they decide to leave, they're going to make a huge impact on other teams. If not, then that's their prerogative. That's something they have to deal with. But I'm 100% confident that whoever leaves can actually have an impact and go Army. That's it.
Steve, any final thoughts?
Yeah, Sal, I'll just say. Sorry. No, I'll just say this. One, only God will judge me. All right, so everybody look in the mirror and just kind of relax, okay? These are young men making decisions for themselves, for their families. And I promise you, if there's something we recruit at West Point, it's running backs, okay? We'll be just fine, okay? There'll be somebody that steps up. We already have the kicker that kicked career long for a game winner in the bowl game, so we're solid there for at least a year, okay? And then second, Sal, as the schedule release, who we open up with next year, do you know?
Yeah, Coastal Carolina.
Coastal.
At Coastal. And then I think the second game is against Texas San Antonio. So,
hey, so beat Coastal Carolina. Let's go. All right? Let's go.
That's it.
That's it. Hey, thanks for joining us on this podcast. It was an engaging conversation about the transfer portal. Maybe we'll do a couple more of these just about specific topics with West Point football and beyond. But we really appreciate it. Check out blackknightnation.com for stories on new coach, safeties coach Scott Sloan, who's in the mix. Also, check out our YouTube channel where we have all our interviews. Cal Walker, Steve Anderson. Thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to be signing out.
All right, fellas.